Hello, guys. I'm Mariano, the Trading Parrot, and I'm here with Annii, Trade, Travel, and Chill. She is now today here to do TA live with me, and I'm extremely excited. How are you, Annii, doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Good to be on your channel again.
I'm very good. I'm surviving thanks to a cocktail of pills that I took
Oh,
for my illness. I'm good. I'm actually doing good now.
that's good. It's good when they kick in.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You know that the kids, when you send them to nursery, they're all the time bringing bags, and it's been the case since the
Yeah.
beginning of the year. But how are you feeling today in terms of price action? I've seen a rally to 107, and
hmm
last night, with my last energy, I
Yeah.
sent a post to people explaining that we are seeing a very interesting resistance. Do you see the same, or do you think that you see different the market at the middle of the week now?
Yeah, look, I think this is a really tricky week to pick it. There's just so much going on. And if you are focusing, if you zoom out and focus on the higher time frame, like the daily time frame, we're essentially just in the range and we're at the top of a range with really our second major touch to that range. So it's possible that we just stay in the range for longer, or, we could, I guess, eventually break out. But it's all going to be news-based moves, which is what makes it tricky. Like we've still got the Bank of Japan rates to come out later this week, which is a big caution. So, yeah, we have to be ready for anything.
Do you mind if I show my screen just for a second?
Yeah,
I
go for
just
it.
want to give a very quick update. I haven't done an update today, so I think people are going to appreciate it. So let's go with the 4 hour. So, I'm trading usually with the RSI. That is kind of my sniper tool. And I use a lot of other indicators, but just for that entry, I like trading channels and breakouts on the RSI. And at this point, am I sharing my screen? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
At this point, which is 17th of January, we put this high, and I started speculating that we were going to have a channel to the downside. And I like identifying that up front and making a bet that potentially this ugly looking shape that is recalling something like a head and shoulders, and then we trade the move down in here. um, and since then, I started saying, oh, we are putting a double bottom in here. We might as well go to the top of the channel. And that top of the channel took us to 61. And then we have the line of the neck of the head and shoulder that is 62. And therefore, I translated that into price using the reverse RSI, and it gave us this level of resistance right there. And I posted a video last night when we were above 107, and since then we went to 104.6. So what I'm looking for now is whether this bull flag in here, if it's capable of now extending like this, right? And kind of breaking above that resistance. But I'm looking at it from perspectives of 4 hour and daily. And on daily, we got this line that spans all the way from beginning of August, that we have pinch here when we went to 102.7. Then we pinch in here, and then we pinch the day after. So it's been like the daily and the 4 hour are both against a resistance in common. And but there is opportunity, because also from the daily, after we have hammered this 3 times, my guess is that if we stick around, again, the same narrative, if we stick around here and we don't necessarily see an ugly rejection, I'm talking about going below 100K, we keep those chances of seeing what I call a global breakout. It is global, that's a terminology that I came up with because this line is touching these two tops, and it's the final line that allows to go into the top end. as opposed to this one that is just touching some lines but not the tops. And so if we got that global breakout, then I'm talking about all this range that spans until 84 RSI. I don't think we're going to get to 84, but we could break out from here and see some decent upside. And that upside, what I'm looking for is liquidations from 112 first to 117 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got 21 to 27. I think for that breakout, the low-hanging fruit is this. So I will obviously focus first on whether we can take all of that, 100% of this, and then see if we can get beyond that. I'm very curious to hear your opinion on the current price action in the week. It's been very volatile, by the way.
It has. It's been very volatile and unpredictable, which is why for the moment I'm just sitting out. I'm not really trying to day trade this range. But I do have something interesting that I kind of like. I'm just eyeing it off for now because it's giving me a little bit of a hint of something. Before I show you, one of my team members is in the chat, who I believe is supposed to be doing a US session soon for our community.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to let you know, Caspar, if you want to stay here, if you want to stay on this live and cancel your session, just go for it. Just put an announcement in Discord. I forgot to tell you that I was hijacking your session. But yeah, what I wanted to show you was I've been keeping an eye on funding rates, which are fine right now. There's really nothing to worry about there. And then I was looking at the liquidations. And when we look at the liquidations on the exchanges so far, the highest percentage of liquidations are for people longing. So that would tell me that a lot of people are expecting a breakout. But it also tells me that the money for the market makers to be made is by letting price continue up. So the real question then becomes, obviously longs are getting trapped right now if that's the case. So people keep longing right at resistance. And then the reason that this is happening, when you have a look at a chart, is you see all these spikes here. So this is, somebody has to go long there, right? So that's what's happening. Then we have these moves down, and that's what liquidates people. And so there's a part of me, because that's happening, until we get really over leveraged, which we're not, because when you look at the funding rates, we're pretty flat. It's telling me that the pretty big games are being played right now to induce people into long positions. When you also have a look at the fear and greed, right now we're in extreme greed. We're at 84, right? A lot of people are expecting a breakout. We may get that just to entice them into positions because the long positions are getting liquidated. So the market makers are getting what they want, right? If retail are getting liquidated, market makers are making money. So it's actually in their best interest to keep driving price up. So then you think about, okay, well, where would the targets be? So similar to your liquidation levels that you showed here, I have a similar target as well. And when we have a look at the heat maps above price, there's, some short orders currently waiting at about 114,000, but there's a significant number at 120. So that would serve as two targets to the upside, around 114 first and then around 120 second. Not sure if we'll go all the way to 120 in one go. But yeah, if we end up breaking out, like so far, when we look on, the 1 hour time frame, the initial low of the day has held in the UK range, right, in the UK session. So that's pretty good. Like that sort of acts as a daily support level. So as long as we continue to hold the initial low of the day, which is at around $105, $105, could you imagine? $105,000.
105.
Yeah, the US might actually send this up to do that damage. But because of that game that's going on where the price action is bullish, the market is in extreme greed, and the liquidations are happening on long positions, it's a big trap, and you should be careful. Unless you were in a long position from a really low level and you're safe from, candles like this, I don't know if I would be getting into positions right now. You're probably better off letting the games be over, which I know people don't like to hear that because they want to trade every day. But sometimes, you save more money by just sitting out when there's high manipulation going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. And when it comes to the highs of 110 at the moment, how how feasible do you find the potential of forming a double top, looking at the daily potentially?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, well, we kind of have it now already by candle close. We do have a double top from
Mm-hmm.
17th of December to this one. And so that's what I mean by, like, we're essentially just in a range. And we really could be like, if you zoom out on the Bitcoin price, that's kind of what happens, right? Like, remember this boring range that we were all
Yeah,
so bored because it went on forever. And then all of a sudden, you have that final spike low, which is the final trap. And then we move to the upside. So, is it that we're in a similar range now, but it's not going to take as long because we had this spike low to 88? Like, does that transfer to this and then we should be moving out? Maybe, but usually ranges don't end at just two touches to a resistance. Do you know what I mean? So,
that's true.
yeah,
But
it's tricky.
also, if you show the previous months,
Yeah.
the megaphone pattern I call, you can tell that with every attempt of the top, then we ended up putting a lower low.
Yes.
So this sweep
This is
the
the difference.
lows kind of event, it kept occurring,
Correct.
continuously. So everybody was saying, okay, it's this one, it's at 50 something, no, it's at 49.
Yeah.
And at the 49, some people were saying, okay, the next one is going to be even worse. But at that point, we found higher low, and
Yeah.
that really helped. So in this range where we are, that we already have one sweep the low, you have a
Correct.
liquidation zone below the price.
Yeah.
uh, How likely is to get a new lower low there?
I
And
mean, it's still possible. Like, the major liquidity is down here between 75 to 89, which, I know that sounds like a bit of a scary number, but it really could happen. And right now we have fairly large buy orders sitting between the range of 90,000 to about 91. And that's just to hold, this wick low right here. So if we were to come down and revisit that level, we would expect that there would be some sort of a push out of there pending those orders holding as we got there. But if they couldn't hold that support as, a second touch to it, or third touch it will be, or actually more. But if they couldn't hold that, then the next orders aren't until 78K, which if that were to happen, I mean, I don't think it would happen quick, number one,
mhm.
but that people would be very, very scared, I think. And that's when I think people would definitely start saying the top is in. I don't think that would be the top is in. I think that would just be a very well needed correction. I would still be bullish if we came all the way down there. I'm very confident about Bitcoin. I'm just not
Mhm.
all that confident about altcoins, to be honest with you.
And that confidence goes into still holding Bitcoin, or just for taking longs on swing trades at the moment?
Yeah, holding, still holding. I don't think this is the end of the Bitcoin cycle.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of alts that are just, if they have moves to the upside, they're just like short-lived. They don't trend as nicely. A lot of them don't trend as nicely. Of course, there's some few outliers. Every time I say that, people are like, oh, but I've made money on Solana. Well, congratulations to your one coin that's doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
it's
of
true.
course,
It's
everybody's
true.
doing well on Solana. It doesn't make us geniuses.
Definitely. I mean, altcoins has been a battle of retaining the gains.
Yes.
So if you catch something, you need to be very quick, because it's going to
Yeah,
rotate to something else as soon as
absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
necessary. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That, I think, like, I put out a video yesterday where I was saying I believe that this cycle is a trader's cycle. I just, past cycles you could buy anything and
Hmm.
just hold on to it, and then, towards the peak you sell out, you're going to make money. I don't think that's going to repeat this cycle. There's not enough liquidity for you to be able to not really do your research. And a lot of things, like a lot of altcoins, when they do move, they just do 100% retracement back. So, like, you kind of have to have a bit more of a trading mindset, even if it's a higher time frame trading mindset. You can still do really good altcoin trades on 4-hour or daily time frame. You don't have to day trade them by any means, but unless you're actually taking your profits regularly on altcoins, like a lot of the time they just come back to your original entry and you're like starting all over again.
Yeah. And speaking about altcoins, you mentioned you're worried about altcoins. Are you worried in the short term or for 2025?
It's not that I'm necessarily worried. I'm not sure worried is the right word. I think the way that I feel about altcoins is I am still bullish, and I do still think, there's more upside in altcoins, but I think we're in a very much a narrative driven cycle, and that not everything will run together simply because there's way too many cryptocurrencies now for that to happen. There's just not enough liquidity. So we've seen it so far this cycle. We've had the Solana cycle. Solana started this cycle at what, $8? So it started, Link did it. Then we had the meme coin, then we had AI, and now we have AI agents. So there's just sectors of things that have their own little mini alt season. It's not like past cycles where just across any narrative, everything moved together. So I think what that means is that if you want to invest in altcoins, if you want to be someone who's buying and just holding for the cycle, you have to follow the narratives. You have to do a lot more research now than what you had to do in past cycles. In past cycles, you kind of could be a dumb investor. And I say that because I was. It was literally like, just buy anything, you'll make money. It's not really, it's not really that way anymore. And so I'm not saying that I'm bearish on alts. I'm saying if you want to make money from alts, you have to be a lot smarter, and you have to be a lot more active about it, and you have to be taking profits a lot more regularly. Could the average Joe do that? Could the first time entrant into crypto do that this cycle? No, because you have to study, So that's what I mean by I think it's going to be a lot harder. And yeah, I just think when I say that I think this is a trader cycle, it's for that reason. If you can't monitor price action, if you don't know how to read charts, I don't know how you're going to know when to sell out. I'm not saying that you should sell out now, but also the other point that I wanted to make, was I think that this time, like right now, when, we've just had Trump come in and, everyone's very, very bullish on the market. If you already have an altcoin portfolio right now, and this is what I did, which like some people understood it, other people don't. Right now is the perfect time to objectively look at your existing altcoin portfolio and ask yourself, in the last 6 months, what has moved well and what hasn't? And just get rid of what hasn't. Like if you are holding on to a coin that has been in an accumulation range for an entire 6 months, when there's been, sometimes pretty big altcoin moves, then I just don't think it's a good investment strategy to be just hold on and be patient. Like if it hasn't done what it was meant to do by now, you have an opportunity loss. Move on to something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where are you seeing the strength at the moment? And I'm not talking about current performance, but where do you see strength that potentially could play out decently well in 2025 in a particular narrative, or you have like your top 5 coins at the moment to focus on?
Potentially unpopular opinion, but I'm fairly bullish on the USA coins. I think that, if it does turn out that, Trump says he won't tax coins that are, developed in the USA, then when you think about it, America brings most of the volume. So I think that would be very, very bullish for them. Some of my favorites are DAG, H-bar is another one. But TA-wise, like things that are very, very easy to chart is Solana, and Link is basic to chart, So different things for different reasons. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really kind of matter to me what the altcoin is. The chart's got to look right if I'm going to get involved.
Mhm. I'm just gonna ask the audience if you guys want us to do some TA on some coins. If you can drop it down in the comments in the YouTube stream. So I'm currently looking at the comments, and if you have any suggestions, we can have a look. Obviously, coins that have some history, please don't send coins that have been listed yesterday because that's impossible. Uh, so the first request I have here is Aave
Yeah.
and Link. You want to take this one, Annie?
Sure. I think I have Link already charted, so that will be easy. Yeah, I do. So with Link, looking at like a higher sort of time frame analysis, see, this is sort of one way that when I know how to sell, on the daily time frame. I really like to see if a coin is following like an Elliott wave theory type of pattern, and once we get to that fifth wave, well, really the end of the third, and then finally into the fifth, you kind of want to be looking to take profit. So when I look at Link overall, we've had our first wave and our retracement, and we're in the second wave now. And so, sorry, not second, the third wave now. And, this is the first impulse. We're in the third impulse of the second wave. So my take profit range for Link for this wave is, I have multiple. So around the $30-$31 region. And if the market is super bullish, like if we really actually do get alt season, 36, 37, and we could go up to 43, 42. But at every single one of these ranges, you have to reassess and look for weakness. If we do get the weakness, then I still think it would have further to go. Like if we're talking for the rest of the cycle, it will still have further to go because, like I said, this is only forming wave 3. And so after wave 3 peaks, we should have a significant pullback, a significant retracement, just like we did here. And then you'll have your final push, and whatever price that turns out to be, like that's when you can do your final targets on it. So these targets that I mentioned to you are more like the daily time frame wave 3 of the Elliott wave, if it turns out to actually confirm the Elliott wave.
Yeah. Have you noticed today there was not today, but this week there has been a good retracement on the dollar index.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
actually. So that,
Are
yeah.
you tracking that? I
Yes,
wanted to
I
ask you about that
am.
before we jump into the rest of the altcoins. There's so many requests now, but let's look at the dollar because I think the dollar is important as well to keep
Yes,
an eye.
it's very important. So our danger zone for the dollar is anything above 111. And so that was one thing that, like you can see here, I've marked crypto danger zone. That was one thing I was watching for last week as the dollar, kind of kept rising. I really wanted to see us not get to that level, but have some sort of rejection under it to feel like we were safe for now in crypto. And that's what's happened. So we've started to have this pullback through here, it's good at this point in time, but we need to see the trend change now. And I think that that's something we really need to watch very closely. And again, with the Bank of Japan and the interest rates and everything it's on Friday, that we need to be watching the Dixie closely to see how it reacts on Friday. Because if we, if it's bullish for Dixie and we push up beyond that, it's not going to be great for crypto. So yeah, definitely keep a close eye on Dixie this week.
Yes, very interesting. It's always different, but what I've been chasing a bunch of elements to see a strong altcoin season. I'm not saying that all these elements need to play out at the same time. Of course, if they all play out at the same time, we get pretty much guarantee a decent rally, which are the dollar index pulling back. Then you got gold having a pullback as well. That is also positive. Global liquidity index having a push up that is bullish as well. But some of these elements are still not playing out. Indeed, gold at the moment is rallying and is threatening to take the previous top, which is interesting. If you go to 2021, the longest and strongest altcoin season that we had gold and dollar pulling back, putting a top, and then you have liquidity index, You have the Federal Reserve balance sheet also increasing massively. At the moment, the balance sheet is potentially putting a double bottom formation, which might indicate some potential, very very little hope that there could be some quantitative easing getting started. That's something
Mm.
I'm tracking, but I'm just keeping an eye. It's not the full final green flag to assume that we're just gonna get all that flow of cash into the system. I guess something needs to break really to get to the actual quantitative easing. But all those aspects are, things that I monitor every week to see if we can see some shift. Because at the moment, the cash in retail is very limited, and that's
Mhm.
why we see this cats and dogs fighting in the altcoin arena for
Yes.
that flow, right? So there
Yeah.
you see a pump, and regardless of the fundamentals, it doesn't really matter. It just flips to the next one, into the next one, into the next one. Should we go with Aave? I think I see a lot of people wanting to
Yeah.
know your opinion on Aave.
Oh, you want me to look at Aave? Okay.
Yep, I can go
I
with the next one. Yep.
sure. I haven't looked at this at all.
Um, I can have a look too.
I mean, I would assume that we're asking about are they for price targets, not really for entries, because it doesn't really feel like
Mm,
it's a good place to enter.
Yep, it could be targets for medium term, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at this at a quick glance, obviously this was a flag formation here, and we've broken out from it already. So for entries, it's kind of a little bit late, but if you're in it, you're riding the trend of this, and um, you know, really what you're waiting for it to do now is break its daily resistance at about 384. There's a lot of liquidity above price, like all the way up to about 450. So if we can get that break of resistance, then yeah, you've got some movement to the upside. But it's not something I would be looking for an entry on now, because look at this move here all the way up to the up. Like, you'd need a decent retracement if you're looking to get into it.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me see what I find in here. I'm also gonna do an on-the-fly analysis. Let me look. Am I sharing my screen? Yep. Okay. Let's go to daily and on weekly. Right. So I have done a few extensions, and I also have an analysis on a flag from before. So my extension starts here from November 2020 into the top of 2021, then the bottom of the bear market, and that gives me a quite bullish extension of over $1,000. But more for the short term, I got this flag in here that I'm just extending from here into the target of $545. Um, I, 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 I personally wouldn't enter at this price there,
Mm.
um, unless, let me see, because this had already a breakout on the RSI, and that RSI broke out on 5th of August. At that point, everybody was short on Aave. Since then, it's been expanding and holding support multiple times on the weekly. Recently, on 6th of August, we came to visit that support, and that will have been a trade of entering at support there, and assuming we don't break below it, it's holding decently. So if I compare this rally that we are seeing on the weekly on Aave with, for example, Solana, Solana had a similar breakout, but as you can see, relative to that line that we see on Aave, Solana broke below, and it put a double bottom, which actually we trade. My call was Solana broke support there on 9th of December. It underperformed, and we define a neck here. The neck is this orange line, and we target the resistance at 65, 65 RSI. And actually, we got there. Let's see. I think I did 66. So we hit the target at $284. I think my call was for 270, but in the RSI was given to 84. We achieved that, and that was a rally against resistance of Solana. Aave, uh, I'm kind of deviating to Solana, but Aave has done really great because it didn't lose that. So it's showing relative strength in here by holding this channel and continuing up and holding the support there. I think there is upside, to be honest, with Aave. Is showing quite a lot of strength. And I'm not seeing that we are exhausted in level of longs. Something that I don't like to see is where we get into these levels of statistics at the top, which means that everybody's long. I don't definitely I don't enter on a long if everybody's long. That's kind of an overkill. Things that I'm seeing a bit worrying is that on the cross-fee ratio we are in extreme levels of overbought though. Sometimes you can remain overbought for long periods of time. So as long as we hold in here this support, we could continue going. At the moment, we have put a high of 82, and the highest we've been ever is 95, which is telling me that once you get a decent rally on this particular coin, Aave, things can get really, really heated. Then obviously the bear markets are not great for the coin. So if you plan to hold this, you need to plan very carefully your exit, because then you get a drawdown of 94%. So
Yeah.
no one wants that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty much guaranteed that we're going to get something similar. Yeah. Let's see if we get another request. Should we do Say?
Say, you can do it. I haven't looked at Say at all.
Okay, let me do Say. So I'm not sharing. Say is showing something similar to Solana, which is it's been rallying on the support, but it lost the support mid-December. And yeah, I think I did TA recently of this. I don't like seeing having lost this, because that now we are kind of turning this 42 into resistance there. We have a next level of support at 31 cents. But it's not necessarily looking bullish, this price action, to me, particularly because we have a structure that was bullish into end of 2024, and we couldn't even form here a right shoulder. We just got completely dragged back into that level there that we held in November. Now we are at the same place, 34. So definitely we need to regain 44. And there's a lot of work for Say to do at the moment. But as I say, I'm being a little bit forgiving with some altcoins because I'm seeing a long list of altcoins that have good fundamentals, but they're just dragging due to the lack of liquidity. So people might think, yeah, Say is a good investment or good investment for half of 2025. Let's assume that is the context to rally. But they move into the new shiny thing. Just because that's where the volume is, that's where you can trade it, or that's where you can make a quick back. And that's why I'm being a bit more forgiving and not necessarily saying, okay, this looks ugly. But many coins that are great are looking ugly. It's not just this one. So when I say this looks ugly, I'm not saying that Say there's something particularly wrong with this. There's something particularly wrong with the market at the moment, with the conditions that we are having for altcoins to really impress us as a whole, as a whole altcoin season party. That is what we are kind of lacking at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, agree totally.
Would you like to pick a coin that you would like to do TA, or from the comments, or from something that you wanted to TA?
Yeah, let me see if I've got any that I've already done from the comments. What have I got here? Can you see any? I've done XRP, but I know people it's not really popular. I can see it in the comments.
Have you done Avalanche?
Yes.
Cool.
I have. So AVAX, it's in my area of interest right now, actually. I'm waiting for a daily,
wow.
bullish candle close kind of thing. So with AVAX, I really like the TA on it, actually. We had this spike low. We've created the higher low right here. We've had our initial move out. And, this is a higher time frame analysis. So if we get the breakout of this wedge here, then it could run for quite some time. So I wouldn't really take this as a leverage trade. I would take it more as a spot trade, or potentially very, very low leverage, depending on where your stop loss ends up needing to be. But yeah, if this breaks out, then the target is initially going to be back at the last high, so somewhere around 61. And then again, just using the fib, trend-based fibs, very easy to set your targets. After this first target, if there's still strength in it, then we're looking somewhere around 74. And if there's still strength after that, 89. But, I would be taking profits at each of these levels if we happen to get there. But I really do like this. I'm not in it yet. I'm still waiting. But, yeah, it's looking good at this point. Unless something, fundamentally ruins the market, this TA-wise is shaping up to look really good.
Yeah, actually, that's a bullish pattern. Actually, I was going to ask you about the way you take profits, just for people that haven't seen you. And by the way, guys, subscribe, Trade, Travel, and Chill. You can find her on YouTube. I'm going to leave a link in the description as soon as we finish the stream. What is your methodology for taking profits? I can see in here partial profits, but are there any specific percentages that you have in mind, or is it on a coin-by-coin basis, or are there any conditions that make you change the original plan when it comes to taking profits? Let's say in AVAX.
Yeah, it depends on the purpose for my trade. So if I'm just day trading, which is what I mostly do, or I mostly swing trade, but my trades, I don't really hold on to them for longer than 3 days. But in that case, I'm really just looking at lower timeframes for, impulses in one direction, and then a sign of weakness at the final impulse. And I'm not looking to hold through pullbacks after that. I'm just taking my money and run. Most of the time with that strategy, I'm in on Monday. I'm potentially doing a reversal trade on Thursday. If there's no sign of reversal, I'll hold it to Friday. I close out on Friday, and my weekends are trading free. So that's kind of like my short-term kind of live off that trading income type of strategy. But when it comes to the long-term stuff, I find as long as I can get the good entry and I feel confident in my entry, I'm really not looking at it all that often, because if you're charting it too much when you're trading off a daily time frame, you can psych yourself out of a good trade. So if I use AVAX as an example, if I end up taking this trade and it does break out, the next thing I will do is put my alert under this first area of interest. And I won't really look at this again until my alert goes off and tells me that it's hit that target. If it doesn't, then the only other thing it's going to do is hit my stop loss. But, that's what happens, is you manage your risk that way. So once I've made the decision, But once it gets to this level, I'm going to expect a pullback. It's going to be a previous high and, all that kind of stuff. So I will take something off the table. And the thing is you can't go wrong doing that, because let's just say, for example, this trends up like this. It hits this area. Let's just say you take 20% off the table, and then it does this retracement and creates a higher low here. you can put that 20% back in here and then ride it up to the next one, So
Yep.
just because you take profit doesn't mean you can't put them back in on pullbacks. And so I would rather do it that way than not taking any profit at all. And this doesn't pull back. It ends up completely changing direction, which is always a risk. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I just think you can't really go wrong with just taking some partial profit along the way. Each situation is different for me. Like if I have 2 targets, it'll likely be 50% and 50%. If I have 3 targets, it'll be 30% each target,
There's a coin I wanted to show you, which is also many people are asking for it, which is SUI. So on SUI, I got here an analysis mainly on the RSI. So it feels to me like we are potentially repeating the same kind of scenario that we had in March in 2024 with SUI. So that is kind of a concern. It's not fully confirmed. I'm looking for this coin to convince me that that is the case, because in March we have this rally into March, then we broke down on the RSI, we put lower highs on RSI, that gives you that perfect bearish divergence there, and then we create a channel to the downside into the lows of August 2024. That is an almost 80% drawdown in the middle of the bull market, which is as impressive as what comes after. Because after we get a rally from the lows to the high of 1,125%. And what I'm seeing in here is similar to here. It's a rollover of the RSI, bearish divergences, breakdown, retest, and putting new lows there. So I'm looking for this channel once again. And what I'm trying to answer is not if there's going to be some sort of pullback. I pretty much expect here a pullback at least towards resistance. That resistance could come up at $8, or if it's more aggressive, maybe at the $3, somewhere in here. And if we get that, I'm going to be looking if we can actually get something different from March. And that, I guess, that doesn't necessarily depend on the coin. It depends as well if we get an altcoin season at some point during this year, and if there's more liquidity for this to do another leg up in there. So how do you see SUI? How do you see SUI doing this? Do you see weakness as well, or do you see continuation at the current prices? Many people are asking if this is kind of the end for now for SUI, that we need to pull to something else maybe for the medium term.
To be honest, I don't look at SUI at all, because it's just been trending for so long that where is the decent entry with a really good risk to reward? Like, if you're already in it, fantastic, you're making tons of money from it. But if you are looking to get in it, there are so many other opportunities that have not had such, an exponential move. And the pullbacks, we've had some pretty deep pullbacks in this cycle, and like where alts have really bled out quite bad. And SUI didn't really have the same reaction. So if you're not getting a really decent pullback, this is the type of price action where you can tend to FOMO in at high prices because you feel like you're always missing out. So that's why I personally don't look at SUI right now. I'm pretty much in your camp, unless it has a very serious pullback, like to the $3 range, as you mentioned. I may look at it then, but at these prices, I'm not. And it's not even because of the price. It's just because of the trend. Like these just don't have big enough pullbacks for me to want to get involved. So yeah, I would only be looking at it with a decent pullback as well.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like it. How about Ethereum? Do you like it, TAing Ethereum against dollar, or you do as well against both?
Yeah,
okay.
I do both. But let's have a look at actually ETH. Do I have it on here? No, hold on. I always look at ETH BTC first, but it's almost getting to the point that you don't have to, because you can just assume it's going to be another lower low. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, true.
So there's kind of no point. Like we have to zoom out to the weekly at this point because it's just been bleeding down so much. So I do have this current area of interest here between 0.023 and 0.03, which is kind of just touching on right now.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like that's its last hope, because if it breaks below that, we're almost back to the lowest level it's ever been, which is, that's pretty bad, you know. But then you also think, look at the lowest level it's ever been, and it did a double bottom here, and then look what happened. So you would still keep your eyes on it for that reason. But you know, it's really a disappointing altcoin, because every time it looks like it's going to change structure and break out, you know, like this big move here, another lower high here, another lower high here, it just keeps happening. And even like if you have a look at ETH dominance, like that's atrocious right now. Look at the ETH dominance, like how embarrassing, you know? So like, where is this kind of going to end? And I fully understand people are saying like, that just presents the biggest opportunity. Like when it turns around, it's going to have the biggest risk to reward. And like, I do agree with that. But I also think, well, I would rather buy back into ETH at 10% higher after it has confirmed that it's turning around than continue buying into ETH as it keeps bleeding out against everything else.
True.
You know what I mean?
To get that confirmation, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where do you look up for confirmation? What will be your way of?
Yeah, the ETH BTC chart first is my first confirmation. So I want to see it find support. Like when you look at ETH USDT, it doesn't actually look terrible. So again, you know, we had this support here, we had this move up, could be in a wedge formation. You know, I'm hoping, well, not hoping, but it spiked into my area of interest now. So my next step would be to see if it changes within this channel. So if we get a higher low within the channel, that has a good chance of breaking out next. But if we did get that higher low within this channel, that's when I would go to ETH BTC chart and make sure that looks like it's about to turn around as well. So I wouldn't get into this unless ETH BTC looked like it was bottoming out.
Yeah. And do you still, I mean, now that you say that Ethereum is bleeding constantly, do you still use Ethereum as a signal for the rest of the altcoins, as an indication that there's something positive for altcoin season, or you are now excluding it because of the poor performance?
I don't anymore. I mean, I did for a long time, but like I said, or like we both discussed earlier, we think that alt season it's not one collective thing, or it's not going to be one collective thing. It's a series of mini narrative-driven alt seasons. So therefore, it's not dependent on what ETH is doing.
Yeah. So you focus more on Bitcoin dominance or USDT dominance? Okay.
Yeah.
How is your Bitcoin dominance? What's your appreciation of Bitcoin dominance at the moment with this last move up?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, with Bitcoin dominance, it's 50-50 right now, but I'll give you a bit of a warning. So right now, we had the initial breakdown. This is where everyone got excited and said alt season's here, and we had the initial, you know, alt kind of run thing. And then this is where the alts all came back to their 100% retracement, right?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of short-lived. Like we said, it's short-lived. And so right now it's 50-50 because it's returned back to that area there, but it's also created a higher low. So the bullish scenario for this would be if it broke that area. So that's at about 59%. So if it broke through that area, then, you know, that's not really going to be great for our altcoins. The bearish scenario is that this triangle formation actually plays out, because that is a bearish formation, right, when it comes from a downtrend.
Yeah.
So this is what we want to see happen if our altcoins are to have another run. But as you can see, we're consolidating sideways in the pointy end of that triangle. So it is a matter of wait and see now, and you can't really pick it. But we're close. We're close to something happening.
Yeah. So it's super annoying. I keep monitoring this and trying to see, as
Mm,
you do, what could be a bearish outcome for this, so we can start thinking. The other chart I've been monitoring is the what is it called? The others against
yeah.
BTC. Uh, do you do that chart as well? I'm gonna try
Uh,
to find it as well.
yeah, I do the others dominance. Is that the one you do or just others?
Let me show you. So the one I'm monitoring is this. It gives me a sense of each of the cycles, and I see more or less what sort of magnitude I'm expecting for the alts eventually to hit, and what I'm envisioning. Well, what at least I'm hoping to see this cycle, if we get an altcoin season, or if we get the altcoins to perform similarly to what they did in previous cycles, is to get into here, into 65. And at the moment, what we are seeing is just the early move of the breakout there. That is kind of equivalent of being in February 2020, somewhere in here, at the beginning. Um, Targets is this 65, 66. I think I have it in the chart. That is getting us to 7. So this number is meaningless because I'm dividing others by the price of BTC, but at the moment it's pointing at a rally towards this level, which is
Mm,
interesting because it's a lower high. If we get to this top, we get to a lower high than we did in 2022, not to the top of the pattern. So that will look like something like this and then down.
mm,
But if we break from here, if we break from this top, then yeah, of course, then we can start talking about those tops there. But at the moment, the positive thing that I'm seeing is this breakout there with this formation of double bottom. It's a long period of time. It's June 2023, then the same bottom in October 2024, and then this pinch there. So if this doesn't play out, it's going to look like the RSI comes back inside this range. And then if we get another test of 39 and another breakout there, that is going to have, in my opinion, double the probabilities of being the beginning of something big.
mm,
So I am monitoring this, but with a grain of salt, because I look at all the other indicators of uh, flows coming into general markets and crypto, and they're really not saying that a lot is coming in terms of
mhm,
liquidity, which keeps me always thinking, okay, it's going to rally, but it's a little bit deflated at the moment in terms of
mhm.
energy to push really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And do you think that maybe the reason we're not seeing the Bitcoin dominance really break down just yet is because if we're saying that there's a lack of liquidity coming into altcoins, it's that's also competing with the fact that we continuously have really big money continuing to buy Bitcoin as well. So it's not only that liquidity has to come into altcoins, it has to come in and compete against the big money buying Bitcoin, Michael Saylor
Yeah,
and ETFs and everything like that. So it's actually got to do double the work in order to break down that Bitcoin dominance.
it's true. And I remember in the previous cycle, the narrative was in the next cycle, once we complete this one, is going to be the cycle of institutions.
Yeah.
And I always say, let's be careful what we wish for, because
Yeah.
once they take over, there were some people doing some videos saying, well, we actually don't want that. It's not a
Mm,
great thing. And I can
exactly.
tell now why things have changed so much. And if we were in 2021 at this time in the cycle, it was mostly retail, in my opinion.
Mm,
People were watching so much the videos. People were buying BTC and then flipping it into altcoins with the
yep.
expectation of the narrative. Uh,
Yep.
I've seen many people that have done that successfully. I don't
Mhm.
think so.
Mm.
And I think it's because the cash coming into crypto at the moment is going straight now into BlackRock from institutions. And I don't see them thinking, well, once we reach this price of Bitcoin, I'm going to flip it into H bar
Yeah,
or into Solana. I
exactly.
don't think so, because that means that they need to pull it out from the ETF and then find a way to do that. They don't even think about that. So um, also retail is the amount that they are holding in terms of Bitcoin has decreased substantially. I've got a chart that shows that at the moment, and that shows you. Am I sharing? No. Yeah, this is from CryptoQuant. There's a very interesting chart from Axel. This area in here, this chart shows you retail investor demand 30 days change percentage. And you can tell that when we reach the first all-time high in the past months of 108, retail was extremely interested in Bitcoin, and there was demand. There was a strong demand for Bitcoin. But as soon as we reach 108, there was kind of a feeling like, okay, that is the top of the market, and they dump big the retail. Like this
Mm,
went all the way to the bottom in here, and the demand for Bitcoin, and we're talking about less than 10K in dollars, is as low as when we were in May in 2021, right before the next leg up, which is actually something bullish, in my opinion. Okay,
mm,
at least when it comes to the previous cycle, that was a great buying opportunity. Every time that retail hits a low of demand, that's usually corresponding with some levels of fear that tends to reverse the market back up. So, in my opinion, that low demand is good, but I'm very surprised of how quick retail threw the towel, and at the same time, we get this sort of demand on the ETS, like
mm,
1,800, 600, 700. They
yeah,
very quickly change from outflows into inflows, whereas retail is still there, hanging, not really deciding to buy back in or do anything. Most of the retail are just speculating and doing leverage trading and altcoins and stuff like that at the moment. So
yeah. Meme coins.
yeah, that's kind of the case. Um, should we close it with maybe a couple more of maybe just one, guys? Just make the last request for an altcoin now in the comments, and we'll do that, and we finish. You okay with that, Annie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. In the comments. Uh, oh, we could do Dodge. Can you do Dodge?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I've already done it.
Someone asked for Near as well. You pick Near. We got Dodge.
Hey, let me see what I've done.
Some people are asking for Dot.
What was the other one you said? Near. I do like near. It's too. When I look at this right now, it's a bit of a worry. It's a bit too deep of a retracement for me. Like from this initial push up, you know, sometimes that creates the best opportunity when it touches right on the 78.6.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a matter of kind of wait and see right now. I don't think I would take a chance on entering it unless I could see the market structure already change from it. So usually I'm a fairly aggressive trader. Like I do buy, for example, if this did something like this, right? I would normally enter on this peak here. So I'm quite an aggressive trader, but there is certain types of TA that tells me don't take the high risk, let it move first and prove the trend change and then get involved. And so this is the type of TA that I would do that in this case. I'd wait for the actual trend change, because when it gets to the 78.6, whilst it can provide potentially the best opportunity, there's also no guarantee it's going to bounce from there. Can also go to a full-blown reversal and come all the way back to support. So it's too risky for me unless it changes trend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks a little bit too choppy,
Yeah,
not
it
just with
doesn't.
this
It's not
move in
nice, is
here.
it? Yeah,
But
it's not nice price action.
yeah, particularly because you can see that going backwards in your chart in June, we have a
Mm,
similar move to $8, and then it came back down as
yeah.
well to the same retracement of
Yep.
78 or something, and then it rallied just to $6.5, and then it put a low at 3.5.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the risk, right? So you
Yeah.
could get a fake breakout and then a new low.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like if TA looks like this, I'm never desperate to buy a certain altcoin. If everyone started talking about near, that wouldn't make me want to buy it. Like the TA has to look right. You know, when you compare price action that looks like this to, you know, what I showed you with the ones that are giving a really nice, like Link, for example, that's giving a really nice Elliott wave with a very clear wedge and a nice breakout. Like, you just look for things that look easy to trade. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter what it is, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter the name. Cool. Thanks so much for joining me today, Annie. I'm hoping that next month we can do another catch up with all coins, Bitcoin, and live TA at CoinViewer Trading. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Thanks for all the likes and comments. It's incredible. We have 6,000 people at the moment. So great. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Annie.
Yeah. Thanks. See you guys.
Cheers. Bye bye.